Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland BROWNS. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been following the NFL, especially the AFC North, you know that this division has been a battleground for talent, strategy, and power shifts. But right now, there's a buzz that's catching everyone's attention, and it's not just your average trade rumor. It's about the Cleveland Browns, a team that's been building momentum for a potential Super Bowl push, and the possibility of them making a bold move that could redefine their future. And speaking of bold moves, the idea of adding a top-tier wide receiver has been floating around in NFL circles, especially with the recent rumors about the Washington Commanders and their star receiver, Terry Mclaurin. Let's be real here. The Browns have been pretty strategic in their approach this offseason. They've been focusing on solidifying their defense, getting the offensive line in shape, and making sure their quarterback, Deshaun Watson, has the weapons and protection to thrive. But the conversation about adding a game-changing wide receiver is never far from the minds of fans and analysts alike. And why wouldn't it be? When you look at the history of successful Super Bowl teams, having a reliable, elite receiver is often what separates good teams from great ones. It's about creating that explosive offense, that unpredictability, and giving your quarterback the best chance to succeed in clutch moments. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Cleveland. Com.'s Mary Kay Cabot, who's as plugged in as it gets when it comes to Browns news, recently appeared on the Baskin and Phelps show on 92.3 The Fan and dropped a pretty notable statement. She mentioned that, while the Browns aren't actively in the market for a high-priced wide receiver right now, they're definitely keeping an eye on the landscape. The idea of pursuing someone like Terry Mclaurin, a player who's been a consistent star for Washington, has been floated around as a possibility. And honestly, when you consider what Mclaurin brings to the table, 5 straight 1-0-yard seasons, last year's 82 catches for over 196 yards, and a career-high 13 touchdowns, it's easy to see why teams would consider making a move. But let's clarify something right away. There's a big difference between considering a move and actually pulling the trigger. Cabot made it clear that the Browns would at least consider a player of Mclaurin's caliber if the opportunity presented itself. It's more about being prepared, keeping the lines open, and not ruling out any possibility. That's smart NFL business. Always be ready for the what if, especially when it involves a player who can elevate your offense overnight. The reality is, Mclaurin is in the final year of his contract, and he's in a bit of a standstill with Washington. The Commanders want to extend him, but the negotiations haven't been smooth sailing, and that's where a potential trade scenario could emerge. Now, it's worth noting that the current market value for a receiver of Mclaurin's talent is in the $30 million per year range. That's a hefty price tag, but it's also reflective of what the best wideouts are earning in today's NFL. The Browns, a team that has shown they're not afraid to spend when it comes to key positions, might see that as a worthwhile investment, especially if they believe Mclaurin can be that true number one receiver to complement their existing core. Imagine the possibilities. Watson, with a reliable target like Mclaurin stretching the field, creating mismatches, and turning the Browns' offense into one of the most dangerous in the league. But here's the catch. Mclaurin didn't show up to the Commanders' mandatory minicamp this year, which is a clear signal that he's willing to hold firm in negotiations or at least leverage his position. And with training camp just around the corner, questions about whether he'll be a holdout if a deal isn't reached are looming large. It's a situation that's been playing out in many NFL teams recently. Players wanting to secure that long-term extension, teams weighing the cost, and the possibility of a mid-season trade if things don't get resolved. And make no mistake, the Browns would definitely answer that just-in-case phone call if Washington decided to part ways with Mclaurin. Now, let's zoom out a little and look at the bigger picture. The Browns have been steadily building a roster that's capable of vying for a Super Bowl. They've added pieces on defense, with some promising young talent, and they've worked on their offensive line to protect Watson better. But the missing piece has often been that dynamic, game-changing receiver who can take a defense completely out of its rhythm. That's exactly what Mclaurin could be, an explosive presence capable of shifting the entire dynamic of Cleveland's offense. And if the Browns are serious about making a deep playoff run, adding that kind of weapon could be the final puzzle piece. It's also important to remember that the NFL is a league of timing and opportunity. Teams like the Browns, who are in win-now mode, always have to weigh the cost-benefit of making trades, especially for high-profile players. The salary cap, draft capital, team chemistry, all these factors come into play. But if there's one thing fans have come to appreciate about Cleveland, it's that they're not afraid to make bold moves when the moment calls for it. The franchise's history, from the early days of the franchise to the recent resurgence, has shown that sometimes, seizing the moment can change everything. And let's not forget that the AFC North is no longer just about the Browns and Ravens. The Bengals, with Joe Burrow at the helm, have become a powerhouse, and the Steelers are always lurking with their strategic draft picks and veteran leadership. The division has become one of the most competitive in the league, and any advantage, whether it's a star receiver or a new defensive piece, could be the difference between a division title and missing out on the playoffs altogether. That's why Cleveland's front office is probably weighing all these options carefully, considering the long-term implications while staying alert to the short-term opportunities. Now, I want to talk a little about the Browns' current roster and how a potential addition like Mclaurin would fit in. Deshaun Watson, who's now entering his second season with Cleveland after that turbulent first year, is looking to establish himself fully as the franchise quarterback the Browns believed he could be. The supporting cast around him has been improving, but adding a receiver of Mclaurin's caliber would elevate the entire offense. Think about it, Watson's arm, combined with a receiver who can make plays after the catch, create separation, and win contested catches, would make Cleveland's attack much harder to defend. And while the Browns might not be actively shopping for a star wideout at this moment, the NFL's reality is that deals can happen quickly. The trade deadline is always looming, and team needs can change in the blink of an eye. So, Cleveland fans, you should be prepared for the possibility that your team might make a move before the season even starts or during the upcoming trade window. That's what makes the NFL so exciting. Every week, every game, every trade has the potential to reshape the landscape. Another aspect to consider is the impact of such a move on the team's chemistry and locker room. Cleveland has been steadily building a culture of resilience, hard work, and unity. Bringing in a star like Mclaurin, who has shown leadership and consistency on the field, could only enhance that culture. It's about adding a piece that not only produces on Sundays, but also elevates the entire team's confidence and swagger. And let's talk about the fans for a moment. Browns fans are some of the most passionate in the league, and they've been waiting for a true contender for a long time. The last few years have been filled with ups and downs, but there's a real sense that this team is close. A move for a player like Mclaurin would send a message that Cleveland is serious about competing at the highest level and that they're not afraid to go after the best talent available. It's about that championship mindset, about pushing all chips forward and making the necessary moves to bring a Super Bowl trophy back to Ohio. So, what's next? Well, all signs point to the Browns staying vigilant, monitoring the situation with Mclaurin and other potential targets, and being ready to pounce if the right opportunity arises. The NFL offseason is always full of surprises, and this year looks no different. Cleveland's front office has shown that they're willing to be aggressive when it counts, and with the season approaching, all eyes are on how they will shape their roster for the playoff push. In conclusion, Browns fans, this is an exciting time. Whether or not a trade for Mclaurin or another top receiver happens, the fact that the team is considering these options shows the seriousness of their championship ambitions. The AFC North is fierce, and every advantage counts. Cleveland is positioning itself to be a serious contender, and the moves they make in the coming weeks could be pivotal. So keep your eyes peeled, stay hopeful, and get ready for what promises to be one of the most thrilling NFL seasons in recent memory. The Browns are on the rise, and this offseason could be the one that sets the stage for a deep playoff run, and who knows, maybe even a Super Bowl appearance. The future is bright, fans, and the best is yet to come. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Cleveland Browns news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all this? Do you believe the team should go all in for a star receiver like Mclaurin? Or do you think they should stay patient and focus on their current roster? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion really matters, not just to us but to the future of this team. Remember, I'll be back very soon with more updates, insights, and all the latest Browns news, so make sure you stay tuned. The season is just around the corner, and the excitement is building. Cleveland is on the rise, and we're all part of this incredible journey. Thanks for being with me today, Browns fans, and as always, let's keep the faith and keep pushing forward. Go Browns!